Oh, now what? Hey, thanks for dropping by Can't Let Her Die DIY. If you found this video, you found this channel, you must have a Chevy Colorado or a GMC Canyon or maybe a Hummer, or maybe you're just a general YouTuber. Yeah, that's what I have here, 2005 Chevy Colorado. It's 15 years old, 404,000 kilometers on it. It is about to die, but we can't let it die. We got to keep this thing going. I want to make it to 500,000. I want to make it to 500,000 kilometers. And I'm just wondering what's going to take it out. Is it going to be the engine, the transmission? Is it going to be rust? We're up here in Canada. There's a lot of salt on the roads from the snow. Could be rust. Or it could be the rear differential. You know, you should change the oil in the rear differential. A lot of guys are saying, you know, 25,000 miles, after 50,000 miles, if you do a lot of off-roading and towing and that sort of thing. I've also read that it's 150,000 kilometers. I got a confession to make. I've never changed the oil in the rear differential. Yeah, I know. That could be what takes me out. I wonder what that oil looks like. Anyway, we're going to find out here today. So I'm going to need a little bit of help here. So why don't you go back home, throw on your old clothes, grab some tools if you want. Meet me back here 5 minutes. I'll throw on my old clothes. We'll be back here. If you want to just sit and watch, grab some snacks, do that too. And we'll get down and dirty and see what the oil looks like and see if there's any iron filaments in there, if it's grind, the gears are grind, see what that rear differential looks like. It could be ugly. Do you want to see the tools you'll need for this job? If you're considering it, come with me. Come here, I'll show you the tools you'll need. Right here I kind of laid them out. It's nothing you don't already have, right? You need to go get the right rear differential oil, and I talk about that in the video. And that's what I ended up with. The other products you need, just I use some brake cleaner just for cleaning the outside there a little bit, and I use some WD-40 for cleaning. But this is what you need. It's not a lot. You need a 3/8 drive, a 13mm socket. That's a torque wrench for torquing to specs. You don't really need that, but if you do, it comes in handy. This is kind of nice, but you don't really need it. It's a 13mm stubby wrench. I talk about that in the video. And that's another 13mm wrench. This is just a magnetic pointer. I do use that. This is a wire brush. You'll need your toothbrush or your wife's toothbrush if you can sneak that out. You'll need that. And you'll need this. Instead of getting a gasket, I got gasket maker right here. So you might need that. And this is a little thread locker. I use that. And this is just for fun, just to speed things up. I use a power drive, just because it's so fun. But you do need an oil pan. But you guys know that. Anyway, let's go. That's enough yapping. Let's get going. The fun is underneath the truck, not out here yapping away. I'm going down. Throw on my clothes, meet me back here, let's go. Okay, you're back. All right, let's get busy. Time to get dirty, time to get messy. Let's drop down here. I've jacked it up, but I want to show you where I place the axle stand so that you're safe. Always use axle stands. You guys know this, but we should take a look anyway, in case some of you don't know where to place them. Let's get down. I'll show you. So down underneath the rear bumper, passenger rear tire. I got my jack out of the way right now, but I jacked it up off this axle right here so that you can easily slide in the axle stand, the jack stand right here. And it's placed, there's a little groove underneath the leaf springs that fits nicely in the jack stand. So it's underneath the leaf springs, which is underneath the axle, and is holding the weight on both sides. And that's where I put the axle stands and the jack stands, and then I do the push test on the truck, and I'll just, you stay there, I'll give her a good shove in all directions. You might see it wiggle a little bit, but that's all I can do. So it's really sturdy. I've chalked the front tires. It's really sturdy. It's safe enough to go under, because I don't know how valuable your life is, but my life's pretty valuable to me. So make sure it's safe before you even go under. So now it's safe. We're good to go. I'm going in. The next thing in my research on this project, I did some spraying. This wetness is PB Blaster on each of those nuts. They are 13 millimeters. I got my socket already on there, and there's no drain plug on this rear differential. There's only a filler plug. It's on the other side. I'll show it to you in a minute. So to drain the oil, we're going to have to loosen up all these bolts, take this off, take this pan off, and drain the oil that way. But before you do that, it's crucial that you make sure you can get the filler plug out. In my research on the internet, I see a lot of people struggle with getting that filler plug off. It's seized in there and they cannot get it off. So if that's the case, if you drained it here, if you did this first, drained all this, then you'd have no way to fill it up if you had a seized fill plug. So first thing we do is make sure our fill plug is not seized, which is what I'll do next. That was the shop boss cutting in front of the camera. Anyway, I'm underneath the passenger rear tire looking for that drain plug, that fill plug. It does not have a drain plug. That's the problem. So the fill plug on this rear differential is right here. See that there? That is the fill plug for this. Later models of Colorado have a drain plug right here. You're lucky if you have it. This is a 2005. It does not have a drain plug, just a fill plug. So the 2004s and 2005s do not have it. I think the 2007s may have it. I'll have to check that out. So this plug fits your 3/8 drive. I sprayed it with PB Blaster last night. Let's see what we got here. This may have quite a fight to it. I got it. It's starting to move. Something moved. Can you get that? We got it. Excellent. So now that I got that loose, this is the first thing. So now I know this job is doable. It's not going to be a catastrophe. So hopefully yours comes off that easy. I had soaked it in PB Blaster, gave it a spray of PB Blaster. If I go any more, I'll start leaking fluid. Well, since it's a fill plug, it probably will not leak fluid. So let's take it right off. So here's the rear differential, and the wetness around it. I had sprayed it with PB Blaster the night before, and we're going to take off these bolts, these 13 millimeter bolts all around here. We're going to drain the oil out the bottom here because there's no drain plug, so we're going to have to do it this way. Now I want to use a clean pan because I want to examine the oil for metal filaments and that sort of stuff so that I can make some sort of judgment on whether the rear differential is wearing well. In other words, I got 400,000 kilometers on it, 15 years on this truck, and I want to see what kind of shape the rear differential is in. So what's going to happen if I don't clean it? I don't like cleaning. It's the worst part of every job. But if I don't clean it, when I go to take these bolts off, that's going to happen. This stuff's going to drop into my pan, and then I'm not going to know if it's dirt in there, rust from this outside, or if it's if it was metal filaments on the inside that's in my oil. So that is why I am cleaning this first with a metal brush, knocking off any rust, any crud first, so that I can go in with a clean pan and drain the oil, and the oil coming out is not going to wash off any dirt or particular matter that gets into my pan. So I can make a good determination of how well the rear differential is wearing. So that's what I'm going to do. Bear with me. We are cleaning, and cleaning is the worst part of every job. Okay, I got the clean differential unit right there. I got my clean pan right underneath of it, right there. We are ready to drain this puppy and see what we got. I got my rag handy for leaks, for spills. Now, how much fight do you think these 13mm bolts are going to give me? They've been on there for 15 years. Driven every winter, salt, snow, and you know what? It's sad to say, I don't believe this has ever been changed, which is probably on me, I guess. But I don't go 4x4, and I don't put it in the bog, but I do go through a lot of snow. Yeah. How much fight do you think? All right. Let's get one there. Got it. I've got all the bolts loosened up except for one. There's one that's problematic. It is this one right up in here. This is your hardest one. I can't get a socket on it because of that. That's the brake line there. It's got a little clamp that holds on the brake line, and it's interfering my ability to get a socket on there. They all came out. They are all about the same amount of toughness getting it off. You saw the first couple. They weren't too bad at all, so that was really surprising. Surprises me. It's a good day to do mechanic work. Some days are really good and everything works with you. Hopefully it's going to continue this way on this job. Starting to get a little leak right here because I've loosened all the bolts except for that one. I'm going to get a wrench on that. Moving right along, looking good. Got it. Good. We're switching to the power driver here. And let's get these top ones. There's always a point in every film, every video where it gets messy. I think this is going to be it, right here. We got the pan. I got a rag within reach. Going in where the real dirt is. And the last one. And there it is. And it is black. Black as Texas tea. And it is, ugh, it smells. She's been due. How viscous is that? That's called viscosity breakdown. And that's why we're changing it. It is running like water, a little thicker than water. It's not totally. We'll see how the new stuff is. See how viscous that is. It calls for 75 weight, 75 to 90 weight gear oil. So that's it. Changing out the rear differential fluid. This is great. I can't wait to get that cover off and see what it looks like in there. Okay, I've relocated you to the workbench now. While we wait for the last few drops of that differential oil to drain out of the differential, that black, smelly, stinky oil, and it does stink, let me tell you. Let that get out of there. We'll pop the top off of that and take a look. While we're waiting for that, we'll clean up our nuts and our bolts and the fill plug. Very important. So what I like to use is my toothbrush. Does your toothbrush look like this? I hope not. Let's get you in closer and we're going to clean up. I just like going over the threads of some of these bolts so that we can. Okay, it's exciting time now. We're going to examine the oil that came out of the rear differential. We're looking for filaments, metal shavings, metal filaments, anything, crud, gasket material, anything that gives us any indication of something going wrong inside the rear differential. It's a lot like when you get your blood test at the hospital. They check it for cholesterol and all those signs indicative of something's wrong with you. Same with the differential. We're going to look at the oil, and it is dirty. It's been in there too long, that's for sure. That is, see the drops there going like water? That's viscosity breakdown right there. That's not good. It should have been changed before this. But you know what? In the maintenance schedule, it's not even listed that you even have to change this. It's not in any of the maintenance. Okay, we got some stuff in the bottom. But I do know at one point I did see something fall in. So it's not all. That is sort of gritty. Seems like dirt. There. Get a shot of that. There is. That is breaking up. There's some fine metal parts there. That looks like gasket material. That is gasket material there. I can tell by the rubbery of it, and it looks like rust. So that some of that's on the outside. As clean as you try to be, you still, when you turn the bolt, some of it falls into the pan. So I want to find out for sure what all this grit is. Is it iron or is it dirt? And so I went and got a magnet. The end of this pointer is a magnet. It's actually used for picking up nails and stuff. So screws that falls down the engine. So we got a magnet here, and I'm thinking this is like 90% dirt and gasket material, right? Because when I do this, all that, if you take a look at this, are you zooming in on that? Very little of that is, there's no filaments on there. There's no iron filaments on there. So what I think is happening, despite cleaning it as much as I could, when I popped the top off the rear differential, off the pan, off the rear differential, the very top of the seam where the gasket is, there's 15 years of dirt up there that I could not clean. You know, that's right in the crack, right next to the gasket. So when I unscrew those, although I can't see it, the pan's coming off, that falls into the oil as the oil is pouring out into this pan, right? All that dirt, rocks, sediment, and that sort of stuff, and gasket material falls down, and that's what we're seeing here. So I'm really, really happy that I can't get anything to stick to this magnet. So I don't have, I have hardly no, I had one little speck that stuck to it, and I don't even think it was magnetized. I think it was just stuck by the sticky action of the oil. So I'm pretty happy. I don't have iron filaments in my rear differential, which is really, really, really good news for me. So hopefully you have that too. Good to go. It's looking good. This stuff sure does stink though. You're lucky you're not here. You're lucky you're not smelling this. Nasty. Okay, I've repositioned the camera underneath the truck again. We're going back to the rear differential. There it is. It's brownish now because of the PB blaster mixed with the rust and made kind of a brown stain, so it's a nice brown hue. Anyway, moving on. This is the rear differential, like you already know. I've taken off the bolts. I got one problematic bolt that's up there. There's always one. You know, this is called the rear differential. It's also called the pumpkin. Taking the pot off. It's called the pot, it's called the pumpkin, it's called the rear differential. Just in case you guys want to talk intelligently with the mechanic, if you're getting this done at a mechanic, they may start throwing some of those terms at you, and it's nice to be able to let them know that you do know something. I've had a few conversations with some of the YouTubers, and they tell me, you know, they don't intend to do it. Sometimes they don't intend to do it themselves. They just want to understand the process, and so that they can talk intelligently with the mechanics, and they don't come off looking like they don't know what they're talking about, which makes them prone to maybe a scam or that sort of thing. So, yep, it's called the pumpkin, it's called the pot, it's called the rear differential pan. I just call it fun. So I'm getting in here, crawling in here. No one has more fun than me. And I forgot my goggles, but just want to show these stubby wrenches, ratcheting stubby wrenches. They're great for these tight areas. Once you got them loosened up, you can get in there and get on there. Sort of like that. These ones are a little bit fat. Bend that out of the way like that and get on there. And now I can ratchet that sucker right off. See that? That makes life a lot easier. They're great. So with the money that you save on this job, if you haven't already done it,
maybe you want to pick up some of these ratcheting stubby wrenches. Throw that in your tool chest, because they are kind of fun to use. And that's off. Oh. Coming to a big moment here. Big action shot here, folks. The last bolt's coming off. That means this pumpkin is coming off. Off goes the pumpkin. Off goes the pot, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to see inside. Hasn't seen light in 15 years. And there it is. There it is, the rear differential inside. It is black. It is stinky. You can feel a little bit of grit in there, which is not good. But it's got 400,000 kilometers on it. There's got to be something in there. Looks pretty cool. That's it, folks. Look at the gasket material. How much of that gasket is left? Hopefully you can see that. There's the pan, the underside of the pan. I'll put it right in the way. A lot of the crud that I had in that, the bottom of the oil pan, when I drained it, a lot of that grit and stuff is the gasket. Now I'll examine the teeth of this, and I'll clean it a little bit with clean hands. And get a clean rag and clean it. There it is, folks. This is fun, isn't it? Are you having fun? I am. Loving it. Okay, I got the pan back on my workbench, and this is the inside of the cover, inside of the pumpkin. Right here, you can see a little bit of grit there. And right here, this would be the magnet. And I put my finger in it and smudged it. I'll get you in a little closer here. You can see where it's a rectangular shape. It goes up here, down there, and then there's a magnet on the inside of this pan where it absorbs any of the iron grit and stuff. And there's crud on it. I stuck my finger in there and it just gives way, right? I'll show you the consistency when you see the screwdriver go in. Here's my screwdriver. It is just kind of goo, and I get it between my fingers. It's like a paste. It's not, there's no iron filaments in there, right? It's almost like the it's almost like it looked like a bead of caulking until I put my finger in it. And anyway, that is the magnet, and it's got a paste crud on there. That is just, I would say it's broken down oil, kind of precipitated out, formed a little paste, and was drawn to the magnet. And it had a bead on there, just as if you put a bead of caulking on there. It looked like it was meant to be there. It was put there by the creators of this vehicle, and but it's not. It's what precipitates out onto the magnet. It must have iron filaments in it because it's drawn to the magnet. So it's kind of cool. So you can expect that. That is normal. I do remember hearing other people talk about that. I remember them saying something about it looks like a hunk of snot, what they said, but it doesn't look like snot to me. It is kind of has a caulking consistency to it. So anyway, that is kind of cool. We'll get this all cleaned up. So I'm pretty happy with that magnet. I don't feel any filaments on there. It all came out. Okay, cleaning the pan. We've got a little brake fluid. We're going to spray her down and wipe her off. There's the magnet.
Try not to breathe that stuff in. But it sure does a good job dissolving the oil and gunk. There it is, close-up shot. There's the inside of the pumpkin, inside of the rear differential. There's the magnet. Nothing like a little spit and polish. Hey, you don't need new. Just shine her up and stick her back in. We're back in the game. Now you don't want to mar the pan, especially where it makes contact with the rear differential, right around here. But this is rough. It has gasket material caked on and it has to come off. So I'm using a very sharp X-Acto blade just to get that gasket material off without scratching the pan. And you can see this stuff, this brown stuff, that gasket material right there. That, can you see that? That is the brown stuff that was in the oil. The gasket material is right. It also looks like rust. It's the color of rust. And very gently go around this pan. Just get that gasket off, so you can have a smooth surface to put the new gasket back on. This is very important if you want to have no leaks. Comes right off. Now with a clean rag, absolutely clean rag, we're going to get clean, wipe down some of this rear differential. And it's nice and clean in there with this new, I think it's pretty good. That is the old gasket coming off. That's the old gasket, and it has certain features to it. There's only one way it can go back on. It's this way, right? It goes like this, and you can tell by that piece there. That piece there shoots out right there. So I'm going to lay this down in the exact position like that, so that when I line the cover up, I will know how it exactly goes. There's a few. Now I got the gears pretty clean in there, so I put this paper towel over the gears to protect it from this. As I clean this gasket material at the top, it's going to fall down on the gear and stick to the oil.
So it's going to be sediment sticking to it, gasket material. I don't want that, so I got the paper towel in there to protect the gear so it'll just bounce off and keep it clean. So that's what I'm going to do as I go all the way around here, cleaning the remaining part of that gasket material off. That's what I'm doing. Cleaning's always the worst part of every job, but it's often the most important, unfortunately. Now getting it clean here, all around here, the best way to do it is I use this knife, this razor blade X-Acto knife. For this part here, you don't want to mar up this section, this part of it right here. See that's really smooth anyway. It's been bathed in oil. The gasket was right here, along here. So on this side of that gasket mark, it's rough, it's gasket material. There's caked on there. That's where I use the knife. So I use the blade like this, and I go along, and I never mar up this section here. There's no need to put the knife on that section because it's already smooth, it's already clean, it's just oil on there. It's the deposits up in here, it's deposits on this side that I use the knife, and then I sand it down with 600 waterproof, 600 grit waterproof sandpaper, and that gets it pretty clean. So that's what I recommend on that. Cover this so that any of those shavings don't, as you're cleaning, none of that grit falls into there. And then when you're all done, you can take some brake fluid, brake cleaner on a rag, and clean up any residual oil residual here, but do not spray this with brake cleaner or any solvent at all. And I would say that is a clean differential right there. Rear differential, it's clean. I cleaned it with a rag. It's quite smooth and clean around here. It's smooth where it needs to be, perfectly smooth there. The inside of that, I think we're good. It looks good to me. I'm liking it. Okay, we have this nice and clean now. It is smooth, it is clean. We used a knife to scrape off the remaining gasket material, but we did not use a knife on this smooth part. It's already clean. There's no scratches on that, so we did well there. We did take the sandpaper to the outside to smooth that off and got most of that remaining material down. I'm confident it's nice and smooth. It's good to accept the gasket material now. So that brings us to the gasket. You can order a gasket for this, for the Colorado. They're like $56 to order it from a parts retailer. I could have ordered it. They had to order it in, so I would have had to wait 3 or 4 days. It would have came in on Monday. I want to get this done on the weekend. I could order it from further away for $28, the gasket, and I'd have to wait 7 days, or I could use Gasket Maker. We're going with Gasket Maker. This is pretty good stuff. RTV, Gasket Maker. You got to get the stuff that's good for oil, so it doesn't break down in oil, and this is it. It's made by Permatex, Ultra Black Advanced Formula. Maximum oil resistant gasket maker. This is what we're going to use. We're going to make our own gasket. Cool, hey? Anyway, I'll show you how to do that. And this cost around $14. So we got to put a hole in this. You guys have seen this before. Punch a hole with the outside of that cap. Then we can screw this on the nozzle.
like so. We're going to cut it right about there. Like that. We're looking for a 1/4 of an inch bead, and that's about a 1/4 of an inch. And we're going to put a bead on this. We're going to start at the top. So now we're going to put this on immediately while this is still wet. We're going to put it on without touching anything. We're going to get it in the right place on the rear differential, and then we're going to put the screws on and tighten them finger tight. We're going to let that sit for an hour. At finger tight, it's going to sit for an hour, and then we're going to come back and we're going to tighten it to spec, torque it up to spec. Then we're going to let it sit for overnight, and then put the oil in it tomorrow. That way it cures before it gets any oil into it. That is the plan, that is the mission if you decide to accept this. I am going to get my screws all set up. These bolts, I'm applying a little bit of thread locker. I'm charging the bolts with that, each one of them, so that I can, so it will not, they will not jiggle loose. That is what it looks like the manufacturer had on here. Thread locker. So carefully and patiently, we're going to put this rear differential cover back on, the pan, the pot, the pumpkin, back on in the original position it was before, which is this position. Right? You can tell because that there coincides with this part, and this over here coincides with that. So those are those two clamps, and that's how you can, that's what you can use to find your home base here. Okay? But they are kind of in the way a little bit. So we want to go up, and without disturbing that gasket at all, get in there like that. Let's not touch it, that's scraping on the screw. Pan goes on like that. All the holes are lined up. Now you take your bolts and you start positioning them in. And we put those on finger tight, and we go in a star pattern. So we, wherever you start, you go to the opposite side, furthest away. Can't do that one. Do this one. Because you want this to press on evenly, same pressure, so you have that gasket forming, mating the two, marrying the two surfaces together.
consistent gasket. So that goes on like that. Now I come down here, hit this one at the bottom. And I'm just putting them on finger tight so that the pan will stay on by itself. And holding it in position so it does not move. And some of these bolts will allow me to get in a little tighter. And up to the top. So I'm putting them on finger tight, right? Now to make sure this drain plug, or this fill plug, we don't have a drain plug, make sure this fill plug always does not seize on, stay on. We'll put on anti-seize lubrication on the threads. Just a little dab will do you. Nickel base anti-seize grease. Okay, we're coming to the end, folks. We got the rear differential cover on. I finger tightened the bolts. You can see the gasket material squeezing out down there, just like the manufacturer suggests. Now we wait an hour, like that, at finger tight. We wait an hour for it to set. It has set, an hour has elapsed. I'm back in here. I got my torque wrench. We're torquing it to specs. The specs are between 30 and 35 foot-pounds. I'm going with 33. 33 foot-pounds an hour after it sits for an hour. And the most crucial thing is make sure you do it in the classic star pattern so this gets pressed down evenly on both sides. So I will start here. Two, three. I'm going to do it evenly, so I'm not even going to go. I'm just going to 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. In a classic star pattern, 1, 2. Geez, that one's tight. Better stop there. 1, 2, 3. And that's my problematic one. Switch to this. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, starting to tighten up. Now we're on this one. Switch back to this. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, she's getting a good grade now. 1, 2, 3. Those are short ones, so I'm going to put another one in there. 4. One more. 5. Now we're over to here. 1, 2, 3. And up here. 1. That one. Okay, that one's at spec. Now I'm going to go back down here. Turn this to spec. 2. There's 33 pounds. That's spec. That one and that one. Now I'm going to go this one, this one. That one's spec. That's it. And this one. And that's the spec. And this one here, the problematic one, just goes to show that my arm is a highly tuned, sensitive piece of machinery, and right there is 32 torque to spec. And that's it. It is torque to spec. It went smoothly. I'll test them all. They're all torqued exactly the same. I did it in a star pattern. We are good to go. And now we wait 24 hours, which is kind of the bad part. 24 hours before you put oil in there, just to make sure this works out perfectly. Hey, it's been 24 hours. It's been killing me waiting 24 hours to get that oil into that rear differential. But as 24 hours is up, the gasket material has hardened, we're good to go. Now, what kind of oil do you put in? That's easy, 75W to 90. That's what you put in there. Yeah, that's easy, but is it limited slip or is it not limited slip? Well, let's go to the manual. Let's go to the owner's manual. What does that say? Well, the owner's manual, you know, they just say 75W, 90 synthetic, axle lubricant, GM part number. And they have 2 different part numbers, one for the United States, 123782661, and one in Canada, 109534555. So, it doesn't really tell you. So I was looking for an alternative product. I didn't want to go down to the dealer and get their rear differential oil. But after 2 or 3 hours on the internet, again, looking it up, researching it, looking at all the comments and seeing what people are doing, and the camp was divided. There's conflicting information on the internet there. So when in doubt, go with, I always go with what the manufacturer suggests. So I went with I called up my dealership and quoted that number, that part number for the oil. Guess what he said? He said that even that number's been changed. It's now a new number because this vehicle's 15 years old, so even the part numbers are changing now. So anyway, it took a while even for him to figure it out. Anyway, I ended up just getting what they recommend. They said the part number has been changed to this, 8902168. This is AC Delco. This is the original rear differential oil that was in that rear differential. So when in doubt, pay the extra money and go with this. So I went from $14 per liter to $16 per liter, and this baby $22 from the dealer. But it's only a few bucks. And rear differentials are important, and they're designed around their oil. So yeah, I'm pretty comfortable. I'm going, in this case, I'm going with the OEM oil. Anyway, it comes with a little top, special top here, and a lot of guys are talking about getting a pump, having to pump it in, really messy. It's not that hard, really. What I'm using, what I found, I already got one into it. It takes 1.6 to 1.8 liters. So all you really need, you don't need any special gear. All you really need is
and I'll get it. Just follow me. All you really need is this. You can almost get it with this, with that bit there, but you just need a little extension so that you can put this right in there and get that up and use this. You'll be okay. So now we get to go under, get this into the rear differential, and hope it doesn't leak. Okay, this is the AC Delco 75W90 going in. And if you just get that nozzle in without transferring in any dirt like that, you can just squeeze this and it goes right in. There's no real mess. On the internet they're talking about how messy it is. You can need a pump to pump it from the container. You can't get in it. But I don't really know what they're talking about because this is pretty easy. You don't need any special pump. Maybe it's the 2005 Chevy Colorados that are this way, but I don't find this all that difficult. Just squeeze these puppies until it goes in, and this is a fill plug, so once it gets up to that level, it starts spilling out. That's when we know we have enough. I just want to back her up a bit here. Get it up a little higher, like that. And pump it directly into right into the rear differential. Okay, now it's starting to come out. Okay, well, maybe it is messy. That's pretty good. It is coming out there, folks, so I think I have her full. And I'm going to get that plug in there, and we're good to go. Rear differential fluid. Do it every 15 years, whether it needs it or not. Now I'll tighten that up to spec. I'm going to see if I can estimate this. I would say right there is about what it should be. Now I'm going to get the torque wrench on it, see if I got it right. See how close I am. I think it calls for 24 pounds torque. We'll see if I'm even close. Okay, that's 24. And I was a little bit light. There. 24, that's what they say. I was pretty close though. Rotate a quarter of a turn more. Now we'll clean it up. And that's it. Take it for a hard drive, I guess, and see if it leaks. Hey, it's coming to an end. It's getting a little sad, but all good things come to an end. This video's coming to an end, and guess what? We got the oil in. It looks like it's not leaking now, but we haven't driven it yet, so we'll find out. But I'm pretty sure we did a good job, aren't you? I think so. I just want to give a little salute out to NB. He's the viewer that suggested this video, that told me there's no videos for on rear differentials for Chevy Colorado. So you know what? He's right. So now there is. Hopefully it's a good one. I guess you guys will let me know either way. And that's what I would like. Send your comments. Give me a thumbs up. That really helps. Makes me feel like I'm helping people, and that's why I do it. It's kind of fun to help people. So thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, you might want to do so. I would like you to, but you don't have to, of course. And work's done, guys. Time to have some fun. Time to take this truck out and go off the road. put a little stress on that rear differential. Maybe next week I'll be right back in here doing it again because I broke something. But you guys have fun out there, stay safe, and have a good time. Cheers.